Justin Guitar was right about you and your guitar practice, not about you as a person, but as a guitar player. Hello and welcome to another video with me, Elmo. It's good to have you along. Yesterday I watched a video with Justin Guitar. If you don't know who Justin Guitar is, he has a huge YouTube guitar learning channel. Much bigger than this one, although that's not very difficult. And he made a video where he said he'd been wrong previously, at least to a large degree. And he's absolutely right. So in order to explain this, I will need this and not the guitar. The guitar will just be in the way. So what was this big thing that he'd realized that was wrong? Well, he illustrated it with Lego, like this. This is learning one thing, then learning a completely different thing, and then learning a completely different thing on guitar. So you're spread out and you basically learn all sorts of different things, but they don't really pile on top of each other. And he said that he had previously recommended to students that they practice the difficult stuff, the stuff that's their weakness and so on. And he said that's very good if you want to become a guitar teacher or someone who knows a lot of different styles. Now he said that he'd come to the conclusion that it's better to actually practice things like this. So he put Legos on top of each other. And I think it's a great analogy, but there's something that you can add to that because it doesn't capture everything. Before I get into that, he's absolutely right. And the brilliant thing is that he admitted to being wrong previously. And first of all, on the internet, no one ever does that. It's basically unheard of. But that's also because teaching is not about teaching primarily, it's about learning. And even teachers, they learn and get better and better. And yeah, if you can't admit that you were wrong, then what's the point? So that's point number one. But then secondly, let's get to your learning, guitar learning. It doesn't just work like Lego, because Lego, you put blocks on top of each other, they stay there. What happens when you learn something? It begins to fade. That's just the way it is, unless you do something to reinforce that learning. If you learn like this, where you have the blocks lined up like that, the learning blocks, and you do this thing, and then don't do this thing for many days, this thing will start to fade, which means that you'll have trouble with your progress, because when you get back to this, you'll notice I've forgotten a lot of what that is. I like to think of it as a snowball. You roll a snowball down a hill and it gathers more snow, it gets bigger. But if you stop that rolling and it's a bit warm, it will start to melt. That's what happens to learning. It fades. So that's why you need to build on top of what you've already built. Of course, you will do different things. It doesn't mean that you'll just do one thing, but it will mean that you will progress a lot faster. Another way you could explain this is with the help of a ladder. You have a big goal. That's your whatever you like to do, whatever you like to play. For me, it was Steve Vai, who we'll get to soon. Gary Moore, Yngwie Malmsteen, stuff like that. They do roughly the same kinds of things. So it's not like fingerstyle, classical guitar, jazz, all these. If you do all of those things, you will struggle. But the ladder is you have the big goal and then you get smaller goals. What does Yngwie Malmsteen do? He does vibrato and bends, and Gary Moore does the same thing, and Steve Vai does the same thing. And then you gradually build. All of them pick. You gradually build on top of each thing, each block, as it were. And this might lead to some people going, well, what do I need to practice then? This is a very common concern, as is evidenced by videos that explain what you should practice in what order, because they have huge amounts of views. I personally think that if you have a goal, you work your way down, take a bit of time to see what they do, then you start just practicing those things. Of course, as a beginner, you need to practice certain basics first. But you get the idea. It kind of works itself out in a way, so you don't need to worry about what to practice. You just do what you like, and it kind of builds automatically on itself. That being said, some people like a wide variety of things and might feel tempted to practice a wide variety of things. Okay, but you need to pick a goal. So, Steve Vai, what about him? So, Justin interviewed Steve Vai, and he said that Steve Vai said that he never practiced his weaknesses, he only practiced his strengths. Now, I played with Steve Vai. And I've listened to him and read interviews, and he said absolutely this. I also watched the Justin Guitar interview, but I think he said in another interview that he had no self-discipline at all, because people used to say to him, you practice 10 hours a day, you must have had great self-discipline. And he said, no, I had no self-discipline because I only played what I wanted to play. Playing was what he loved, practicing the guitar was what he loved, and he just did the things that he wanted to do. Building blocks on top of each other, not doing what everyone else is saying, you need to learn this, you need to learn that, but just listening to his own thoughts and wants and needs. And Steve Vai said in the guitar clinic where I got to play with him, he said that when you practice like this, you learn stuff, you get enthusiastic, which builds momentum of enthusiasm, which I think is a great way to formulate it, because when you get enthusiastic, you will hit rough patches, but that momentum will carry you through the difficult period, the frustrations and so on. But you do need to start, maybe you need a bit of self-discipline to get going, but in my experience it takes roughly 2 weeks. If you practice the right way, you start noticing results might be faster, and you will find that you're getting enthusiastic. So kudos to Justin Guitar for that video. If you want to watch that video, I'll link it in the description. Is that all there is to practice? Of course not. The first thing is you need to put in the hours, then you need to know how to practice. Of course you need something to practice. This is what. I think how is even more important. If you don't know how to practice, there's a video here. Other than that, if you want to support the channel, there's a link to buy me a coffee in the description. Or you can leave me a super thanks here on YouTube. But above all, a huge thank you to everyone who supports. Thank you to Justin for a great video, and I hope you have a nice day. Take care, be kind to each other. Goodbye.